I no longer want to be a main character. My name is Elias. I'm from Chile. I was raised in America for about 17 years. Now I'm here in Bali. My father's a pastor. He started Rescue 2000 in 2000, feeding the homeless every Saturday night. Being a pastor's kid, there's actually a statistic that 70% of pastors' kids turn away from the faith at some point in their lives. And that happened to me about a year and a half ago. I returned back home.
You mentioned Rescue 2000.
It's the organization that my brother and I run out here in Bali. We focus on providing shelter to those who need shelter.
What is one story or project that just deeply reminds you of why it is that you do what you do?
We met this family. We did the housing project for them. They were happy. We learned that the daughter was living in Denpasar, working so that she could provide for her family. And then she proceeded to say, it was a dream to go to her mother a home. We got to live a moment where we lived our dreams through her.
What would you say is the number one lesson you learned from your dad that you still carry on in your day-to-day now?
You can never go wrong living a life for others.
If I could have one moment of your time. Most of you guys listening or watching do not subscribe to the channel. The simple and easiest way to help and support us is to subscribe. It helps us get the guests that you guys want, and it gives us a more opportunity to grow this thing to where we want to take it. Thank you so much. Enjoy the episode. Kia ora.
Elias Araya, welcome to the Martin Show.
Thank you for having me.
My brother, wow.
It's an honor.
Oh, what a start, brother. What do you think we need to know about you, bro, to understand a little bit more about who you are and the life that you've lived?
I just want to say, before we get into this conversation and we talk about everything, first thing I want people to know is that I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for God. If it wasn't for Jesus Christ. But yeah, my name is Elias, and I'm from Chile. I was raised in America for about 17 years, and now I'm here in Bali.
How would you describe life in Chile? Early life.
My early life, very humble living. For as far I can remember. I left when I was like 6 years old, and I think it was a huge privilege to be able to make it to America. And that's hats off to my parents for making that sacrifice of moving us to America and raising us there, because we gained access to so many resources, and it made us who we are today, and it's allowed us to be in the position that we are in today. But yeah, very humble. That's all I gotta say.
Even before this episode, you delivered a prayer for both of us, for Puji, for everyone, for the world. I do want to go there off the bat and talk to me about your relationship and your connection to God and the power that has instilled in you.
I think I'm in a point in life where I no longer want to be a main character. I know how slippery this game can get of followers and, trying to grow your account and thinking of content all the time. And I really want to bring it back to him, because he really is the main character. He really is the one that deserves all the credit. Yeah, that's what I want to put out there. If I'm going to do an interview, if I'm going to have a sit down with somebody, I don't want to talk about everything that I've done as if, I did it. I think that'd be foolish of me to do that. And so, yeah, that's why I started, this conversation with God, because I don't know who's going to watch this. And maybe that person that's watching this, even if it just helps one person, even if it brings one person to Christ, God teaches us to, even if there's one sheep missing and 99, and he has the 99, he's going to go look for that one. And so, God's going to do his thing, and who is supposed to watch it will watch it.
Is this a recent realization, or the power of that connection? Is this more recent for yourself, or have you always possessed this?
Man, I've always, I had great faith in Christ, but I'd be lying to you if I told you that it's been a smooth sailing journey. As you know, my father's a pastor, and he started Rescue 2000 in 2000, feeding the homeless every Saturday night, um, still going to this day. And so I've always been on this journey, since I was born. Pretty much I was born into it. But I've seen the greatness that God has done. And obviously, being a pastor's kid, there's actually a statistic that 70% of pastors' kids turn away from the faith at some point in their lives. And that happened to me, and 2016, my family and I were in America, living the American dream. 5-bedroom home, 2 stories, 3 cars in the back, in the driveway, pool in the backyard. We reached it, we were living it. And from one day to another, my family lost it all. We were evicted. We were forced out of our own home that same day. And we had no other place to go other than a rundown church building that my father was pastoring at. And I think that's the moment when I took a step back. I was angry. I couldn't understand why this had happened to our family when we had spent our entire lives helping people and, feeding the homeless. And yeah, it was very hard to understand. And so I went off to college, and, that's where I kind of lost myself. And yeah, I just became really distant from God. And then this is like in 2018. Fast forward to today, about a year and a half ago, I returned back home, to his arms. And, he still showed me grace. He still showed me that he never stopped loving me. And it took me a long time to understand why I lost that home in 2016. We're 10 years later now, and it took me 10 years to understand why I lost that home.
You mentioned Rescue 2000.
Yeah, it's the organization that my brother and I run out here in Bali. We focus on providing shelter to those who need shelter, and my brother started, Rescue 2000 here in Bali about 5 years ago when COVID hit. And he started with, rice food drops, a couple food drops a month. And, he just posted online. And next thing you know, he starts receiving thousands and thousands of dollars, to keep funding these food drops. And so he kept doing it. And then about a year and a half ago, about a year and a half into it, as he kept getting deeper into Bali, he realized that these families, were suffering way before COVID. And that's when he saw kids sleeping on the floor. He saw families living in terrible conditions. And that's when he did his first project. And once we saw the impact that the first project made, we never looked back, and we shifted our focus to housing without realizing what God's plan was,
Yeah, fighting against poverty. And poverty can be a bit of a complex sort of issue. What have you learned about poverty, and I guess like the deeper roots of it through your work?
Yeah, man. It's when I first got into this, I try to read all the articles, research, books about poverty and videos. And, they all spit out facts and statistics. They all but it's a different thing when you are experiencing it firsthand. Um, and I've come to realize that poverty, I don't believe poverty is something that you can end. Unfortunately, it's something that will always be around because it's not a matter of what you have and what you don't have. It starts in the mind, and you can't be rich and not have a smart mind. Unless you win the lottery. And if you look at the statistics of the lottery winners, many of them commit suicide because it takes a different mental capacity to be able to handle money. And that's where poverty is. It's in the mind, not the things that you have, or the things that you don't have.
Welcome to the Martin Show first ad break. For anyone who is wanting to go on a new journey, learn a new skill, we have started our basic beginners boxing fundamentals course. For anyone, if it's your first time, if you're a seasoned member, this is the course for you in the boxing space or fitness space. Click the link below or go to onlineboxingtraining.com and I'll see you guys there. Let's get some mahi, eh?
How do you balance, I guess, helping and giving immediately short-term things versus more creating long-term impacts, which is what you guys are doing? How do you balance?
We do a bit of both. We still do food drops. We know that the bag of rice may only last 2 to 4 weeks, depending on consumption. But what fills you up is that love. That's what fills the spirit up. So it's it's beautiful to be able to do both, to be able to do short term and also do long term housing projects that these homes they will probably be passed on for generations. That's how it is out here in Bali. Unfortunately, people don't have the access to be building their homes. Very few, but not the majority. And that's what I've seen from my own eyes. Many of these families that we help, when you ask them, like, how long would this take you to build, a home for yourself? They don't have an answer. They think never. They're making about 50,000 rupiah per day, up to 80. 100 is good. And, they're maybe working 10 to 15 days out of the month if they're lucky. So their main focus is just survival. It's just buying that next bag of rice. It's been an eye-opening experience. I'm so grateful for it. I wouldn't trade this for anything in this world.
Have there been moments where you may have questioned if your guys' work is making an impact?
No, I don't think I've ever questioned it. Because I've seen it with my own eyes. When I see the transformation, for me, what I see as a successful project, it's not that I just build 4 walls and put a roof over them. It's the fact that I see their energy change. I see their soul come back to life. I see them being proud of their own home. And there's nothing more beautiful than that, man. To see life come back into them. Because many of the families that we meet, before we start any housing project, we get to meet them. We get to see how they are, and man, it's a lot of the families, you can see that they just have no hope, only dreams. And it's amazing that we're able to make those dreams come true.
You probably have many stories, examples, but what is one story or project that just deeply reminds you of why it is that you do what you do?
My brother and I, we had this beautiful moment up in them villages. Probably one of the most beautiful ones that we've had together. And we were doing a normal housing project, and you know, we met this family. It was a family of 3 at the time, and it was the parents and their son who wanted to be a policeman. Um, we did the housing project for them. They were happy. What we didn't know when we came back for the ceremony to bless the house, we saw that there was another person to the family, and it was their daughter. And we learned that the daughter was living in Denpasar, working so that she could provide for her family and be able to send money back to them. And there was a moment where she came up to us and she started bawling her eyes out. And we started bawling our eyes out. And what was crazy enough is that my brother and I, we already knew what she was gonna say. And it was a moment where my brother, told her, like, you don't have to say it. I already know. And then she proceeded to say, it was a dream to build her mother a home. And the reason my brother and I were so sure of it is because it's our dream to build our mother a home. To lose a home at an age of like 17 years old wasn't easy for me. And it wasn't easy for my mom. It was a dream house. And what was so beautiful about that moment was that we got to live a moment where we lived our dreams through her. And I remember the moment she hugged me, I felt as if all her weight came onto me. And yeah, man, being able to live that dream of ours, my brother and I, to build our mother home through another person up in the villages was just the most beautiful thing. And yeah, man, that's one I'll never forget. I was crying like a baby up in the middle of a jungle. Yeah, man, that was one that we had so many though, man. But that was one that truly marked something in our lives. I can say that I've lived that dream.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, brother. What does the dream, what does that mean to you now, personally and through your work? Is it continuing to make other people's dreams come true?
My brother taught me, if there's a dream that you have, go help somebody else achieve that dream, and surely enough, you'll achieve that dream.
You mentioned your brother. You guys co-founded this here in Bali.
Yeah.
I want to talk about him, bro, and I guess your guys'
Yeah.
relationship. What does he mean to you?
He's top G, man. He's top G. He's wow. Wow, this is beautiful, man. Yeah, I guess growing up, we always had a special bond. We were both into the same things. We had our own rooms, but we slept together. And it's crazy enough, man. It's like we spoke about doing this, when I was maybe 12 years old. He's 4 years older than me. So, I always had these deep conversations, when I was like so young, but we would always have these conversations before going to bed, and, things that we wanted to do, dreams. And I think the reason why I believe so much in my brother is because he said exactly what we would be doing today.
Wow.
He said that we would be in Bali. he said building schools at the time, but it couldn't be too perfect. So house is it is, you know. But yeah, man, he's the one that's opened the doors here. He's the one that super intelligent, and yeah, man, he's a leader. You know, I follow.
I love this a lot. I have a little brother. His brother's 4 years younger than me. And why do you think it's so important to have this type of connection, this type of relationship with your sibling? Because
Mhm.
I feel like it's very rare for me to hear another
Yeah,
pair of brothers just have this bond,
yeah,
this love for each other that I have been blessed to experience as well in my angaka,
yeah.
in my heart. What, I guess, why is it so important for you, bro? And how it's just shaped you and him.
To be honest, man, it just makes life that much more exciting and to be honest, easier. I feel for the people that go through this life alone, man. It's a lonely world, man, and I feel for them, and I'm so grateful and blessed to be able to have a relationship like I do, like I have with my own brother, where we're ride or dies for each other, and we got each other's backs no matter what. And you know, we're all taught to get our own families, grow separately, go our own ways with our partners. But I think my brother and I are here to change, rewrite history, and do it our own way. And so me and my brother are always going to be together. And we're going to tackle this life together, because this life is it's not an easy one, man. Life puts you on your knees, and you'll have those seasons where you need somebody, and that's inevitable. Everyone needs somebody. It's at some point in their lives. And so knowing that I have him, man, I'm able to walk through brick walls, man. Like you're not just dealing with one, you're dealing with two, and so it's like, for me, it's clear as day. And it's like, why would you not? It's nowadays it's pretty hard to trust people, man. And so we know, bro. We know we're by blood. There's not 1 inch of doubt that we have for each other.
What about dad? You mentioned dad earlier, that he was a pastor.
That's the master right there.
Yeah.
That's the guy, man. That's the guy that raised the bar. He's the guy that taught us everything we know today, and how to go on about life, and how to carry ourselves and our mentality.
What would you say is the number one lesson you learned from your dad that you still carry on in your day to day now?
You can never go wrong living a life for others. Can never go wrong. And this is for anybody that is not sure on what values to grow your kids with. I think the best thing you could do for a child, for a kid, is teaching them that life is not just about you. Life is about others. And there's a quote that I'm a huge fan, and I always think about it. It stuck with me. And I said it, as long as the person next to you is all right, you will always be all right.
And do you feel like with what you and your brother are doing now, it's just continuing dad's legacy?
I think it's just a product, it's a result of what he taught us. You know? We could be doing anything else. We could be doing for-profit businesses. We could, you know, be so many things in this world, but we've chosen to, live a life of service because of what our father taught us from a very young age. For as long as I can remember, I was out in the streets every Saturday night with my father. And for me, that was always my special place. That was my place that when I got there, I didn't think about anything else but being there. with no FOMO, no regrets of what I could be missing out on a Saturday night. That was my place, man. Those homeless saw me grow up. And so for my father to be able to show me that, and he's still doing it to this day. So, may not have all the riches and the luxuries in the world, but I have purpose. And for me, that's far more valuable than any possession that I could have.
What is the dream that you're chasing now for yourself?
I gotta build a home. I gotta build my mother a home still. But the dream is to be able to do what I'm doing, not just in Indonesia. I want to be able to do this all around the world, um, freely, and just be able to make impact in people's lives. I think impact is what matters. If you're gonna be a main character on this earth, why not use it to make impact? So yeah, man. I want people to see God's fruits. I want to see people. I want my works to point to Him. And so because that's the only reason why I'm doing this, and that's the only reason why I'm still here doing it.
Yeah, bro. I feel like everything has taken off you while being here in Indonesia. You mentioned Indonesia, the content, the charity, the business, the personal brand, all these things have been here. What has Bali, what has Indonesia revealed to you about yourself?
Great question. Everything, man. Everything. The person that I was before I came here, completely different, man. You wouldn't believe it. Um, Before I came here, I had a very uh, selfish vengeance mindset. I always felt like I lived life at a disadvantage being an illegal immigrant in America. Um, could never buy the new shoes or the shoes that everyone wore or you know, video games, whatever, whatnot. I always felt like I was at a disadvantage. I couldn't pay to be on a football team. I always had other people paying for me. And so for me, I always had this mindset of like, when I get to the top, when I become successful, I'm gonna look back at everyone that laughed at me, that thought I was a, clown. Um, you know, I can't wait to flex on them. I can't wait to show, my success to the people. That's the mindset that I had before coming out here. And yeah, man, I came out here straight into this charity work, and for a year and a half, it was just putting my head down and being in it and doing it, And so, and little did I didn't even notice, but what God was doing there through this time was kind of deconstructing everything, rewiring my whole way of thinking. And when my first year and a half, I had maybe 1,000 followers from hometown friends, and I'm working, and this whole time, God is just rewiring my mind. And a year and a half later, I end up growing a social media account to over 400,000 followers across all platforms. And when I got those following, I had no desire to flex and to show people the success. I had eaten at the nicest places. I stayed at the nicest places. I've had, the opportunity to have some of the greatest experiences out here that a person can have out here in Bali, and no desire to show it off, um, to go back to people and be like, "Hey, look, I made it." Um, and I think that's what God was waiting for before giving me this platform. And so, yeah, it's He's so perfect, man. He's so perfect.
What has Bali given you that Chile or the US could never?
I think genuine love and support. That's what makes these people so amazing, man. I don't think I've yet to receive a hate comment on one of my posts.
Wow.
Whereas, in Chile or the US, you're going to have your trolls. You're going to have your dark humor under your comments. And I haven't experienced that out here, man. It's been all love. And when I go into the villages, it's all love. Everywhere I go, it's all love, man. And so I think I wouldn't have been treated any better anywhere else. This is top. These people are top. These people are the most loving people you ever come across. And I think that's what makes Bali so special.
Has being here changed your perspective on service, on success, on giving?
100%, man. When I first started this journey of, on this charity, I was, I try to think about how can I end poverty? And, with what I experienced, I realized that there's no ending poverty, but what is the good that we can do in this world though? What is the impact that we can do in this world? And I believe just little by little, you can leave your mark in this world. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how I was in, like, when I first came in, I was in it to, like, real make, solve a solution, solve a problem. And, but it's far more than that. I don't do this, um, to be a hero, to be a hero to solve, um, a major issue. I'm just here to do my part, and as big as it gets, the biggest impact that I can make, I'm gonna strive for.
What does giving mean to you now beyond just charity?
I think giving is part of the greatest gesture of love there is in mankind. Whether you give your time, whether you give your efforts, um, whether you're willing to pick up the cross and carry it. That's all giving. Everything leaves, everything comes out of us, whatever it is. I think, sacrifice is one of those things.
Do you think we're all born with the desire to give, or do you think it comes from pain? And do you think it comes from experience?
I think it has to do a lot with your upbringing. I think, God gave us a free will and a conscience to, there's good and there's evil. And, depending on how you're brought up and what values you're taught, or, what values you pick up on yourself, which ones you decide to take on. I think that has to do a lot with an individual, whether they believe in giving or not. Because there is a lot of, let's say, selfish people out in this world. And yeah, man, I wouldn't want to believe that they were born that way.
Yeah.
I think something happened along the way.
How does someone make giving a part of their daily life? They want to start to give more. Where do they start?
Man, many people think that, like, when you want to be a part of giving, you have to start a charity, you have to do all these things, but you really don't. And it's as simple as opening a door for somebody at a convenience store. It's simply as giving them a hello with a smile. It's giving a compliment. It's as simple as these little things that you know can make someone's day. It can bring hope to them, or it could be a sign that they're waiting for. Many people are asking for signs, and they're asking for God to speak to them, and you never know. You never know. You could what could be giving people time. There's one of the first times that I went to the villages when I got here to Bali, and we were, it was our first project. It was our first trip into the villages for me, and so, I didn't really know what to do. I didn't really know what to do. I kind of just, stood there and, you know, we're there with a family. My brother was kind of, showing me the ropes and stuff. And I was just, I felt really awkward. But, it was very beautiful that even after we were leaving, a old lady comes up to us. She's like, I'm, I'm very old and nobody has come to visit me. And all I ask you guys is to come to my funeral. And I was like, wow. And like, she was so happy that we were there to actually acknowledge and see. And sometimes that's all that people need, man, is to be seen. Is to be seen, to be noticed. And that's why that's why I'm on this journey of like, you know, learning how to be Christ like. It's because he went to those who were unseen, to those that were unnoticed. Those are the people that they killed him for that. They killed him for, sitting down with those people, or the people that nobody considers, and it's, I don't know. I think many people have the tendencies to put, influencers and people with following on a higher pedestal, thinking, that they're not human, but we're just like everybody else. I'm still a sinner, to this day. I may say all these nice things and my values and not, but bro, I have battles that I have to fight every single day. And I'll never forget. uh, w- it was actually one of my first time going back to church after I had, like maybe a year and a half ago. And we were in these groups and we were talking, giving our, we were in groups talking, giving our inputs. And some lady, talked to my brother. She's like, "Is that your brother?" And my brother's like, "Yeah, that's my brother." And she's like, "He has a lot of passion, but he seems broken inside." And that stuck with me, man, because it's true, man. It's, we all have our own battles that we have to fight. Everyone, best believe everyone's fighting their own battles. And yeah, man, for me, it's just doing the best that you can to walk like him so that people are impacted.
Do you still think you're broken?
Yeah. If anything, I've this new, I guess, journey with Christ has really, because I'm in a more mature stage in my life, whereas before when I was a kid, I was believed and that was it. That, I had that faith like a child, like God says. And so now I'm being more mature, and I've come to realize that people think that when you come to Jesus, that your life gets easier. But matter of fact, it gets harder because it's the more narrow path. It's the path that nobody wants to go, because you really got to face your truth. You really got to face your battles. You really got to fight them. And when you're on that journey with Christ, he brings conviction into your life. And those convictions only get harder and harder and harder. And when you do something wrong, when you make a mistake, you feel it, man. You feel it, tenfold. And because that you're not pleasing God. You know that you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. Whereas somebody that has no conviction, they're doing something wrong, and then they justify and they move on. They're on to the next thing. For me, it rings things out. It's just it's something that it's not just for a moment, but you think about it and you feel terrible. And so I think I still have a lot of things to work on, man. I have a lot of things to to be better at, man. There's a lot of compromising that I do with the world. and I'm working. I don't want to be the lukewarm, and it's pride and all those things that I gotta fight with every single day.
If there is someone that is craving a connection with Christ, with God, with something bigger than themselves, where should they start?
Humility, because God says He can only work with a humble heart. So I think if you're able to humble yourself and look inwards and allow yourself to be open and to be honest with yourself and you know um, point out the things that are no good in your life, and you approach God and you invite Him in. He's a gentleman. He's not going to barge in. He gave us free will for a reason, so that we're not forced to love Him, but we choose to love Him. And so with a humble heart and an invitation for Him to come in, I promise you, you'll feel Him. I promise you, He will reveal Himself to you, as I've seen Him do it countless and countless of times. With the worst of the worst, it's beautiful, man. The things I've seen are just outright beautiful.
Amen, brother. Bro, you mentioned your fuel source in an earlier stage of your life, vengeance, wanting to do things to prove to the world that you could do this thing. Where do you think your fuel source comes from now?
I'm always gonna give credit to God, but I think I also got to give credit to my father. He's about 65, 66 years old, and he's still going strong every Saturday night. And for me, my dad always put it in our heads that wherever we go, we conquer. Wherever we go, we win. And so, having that mentality, man, it's very hard. I've never seen my dad quit. So for me, that's not an option. Have I come close to quitting? Yeah. But it's always that breakthrough. It's always that when you're about to quit, you just push a little bit more, you get that breakthrough. And that's what many people miss out on. They just quit too early.
Elias, what do you think scares you now? What would you say is your biggest fear?
I say if I becoming too big on social media.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's something that I've struggled with, man. I've had people tell me, bro, like, why are you not like active on your social media? Why are you not posting all the time? And why are you not like really trying to push it? And I don't know, man. It doesn't really attract me. Now, may it be God's purpose? That's something I can't fight. But I think, yeah, I guess that's what fears, because I've seen how fame and this game has turned people into, and it's a slippery slope, man. It's a slippery slope, and especially if you're one that already struggles with ego and with pride, it's not a good combination. So it's yeah, man, it just doesn't attract me. But if God wants me to impact more people, wants me to reach more people, then I guess we got to go.
But I think about this a lot recently. As things start to grow, numbers, fame, money, especially if those are some of the goals and the metrics that you're wanting, bigger impact means more numbers. Is that going to change me? You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think about these questions. I'm
Yeah,
like,
man.
no, I won't. You see a lot of these guys, they change once money gets involved. That type of money, that type of fame.
Yeah, money exposes your heart, man.
Yeah.
Money really exposes a person. And so, and what's kind of tricky is that, like, in business, you gotta have some sort of ego. You got to, like, or else you're gonna get ran over. You're gonna get people are gonna run over you. Because business is business. Like, it's a cutthroat.
Can't be naive.
Yeah, you can't be naive. So you gotta have some sort of ego, and so if you want to make it in the business world, So that's the battle right there. That's the balance that you really gotta be able to work on. And yeah, man, I see so many people get lost in it, and yeah, they just become somebody that you don't even want to be around. That's why a lot of them are pretty lonely, man.
That's why family, day ones, your brother,
Exactly, man.
connection.
Exactly.
Bro, if you could go back to your younger self, any age you want, could be the Elias that's just arrived in Bali, could be 10-year-old. What would you want to say to him, bro?
Just be patient. God has a plan for you, a great one. Like I told you, it took me 10 years to realize, what God had planned for me. It took me 10 years being in the wilderness, not knowing why I was there, not knowing why things kept happening to me. Why everything that could go wrong went wrong. It took me 10 years, and now 10 years later, I'm here building people homes, building family homes.
You said you've come to a point where you no longer want to be a main character. I want to go to future Elias. What does he look like? Where is he in 5-10 years' time? Who's the man that you're wanting to build?
I've seen God take me to the craziest places, become who I am. And honestly, I'd rather him lead the way and him just take me there. Because the more that we try to do it our own way, the more we fuck it up, I'll just say, So I want to be obviously a great husband. I want to be a great father above all things. I want to be a person that people can look up to, a person that people can count on more than anything. And yeah, man, I'm gonna be doing this. I'm gonna be helping people. Like I could never abandon a calling like this for anything else. I think this is what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of my life. And in what ways, I don't know. That's the exciting part. I could be one day I could be here in Indonesia, next day I could be in South America. Who knows?
What a beautiful life.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Elias, my final question. If every home that you've built, every piece of content that you've shared, gone, vanished, destroyed, and you had 60 seconds left, what is the one final thought, the final message you'd want to leave with the world?
Become a disciple of Jesus Christ. Learn his ways. Walk like him. I can't read the Bible for you, but learn his ways.
Well, I just want to say thank you for blessing me, for blessing the audience today with your presence, with your nature. Your mom and dad will be very, very proud of you, bro. And your brother.
I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful for this conversation.
I feel you, my brother. We have a closing tradition on this podcast where the previous guest asks the next guest a question, not knowing who he or she is.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
And the question for you today, bro, is what is a present that you always wanted, but you never received?
Oh, wow. I at a certain age, I don't know how it is in other traditions, but in my family, at a certain age, you get to a certain age and you start receiving socks. Socks are your Christmas presents, and you learn to be okay with it.
Wow.
And I think that's like I look back at it, I'm like, was it really that the only thing my dad could like think of to give us? But I really do think he was teaching us something. He was teaching us that when you grow old, you don't receive presents. So, it's kind of building us into that. But present that I never received. I'm so bad at presents. I'm so bad. Like I never know what I want.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe I'll do like a moment.
Yeah, bro.
I think my mother missed my high school graduation because she got expelled from the US. So I don't know. That was a very hard moment. And so I wish she was there. Because I remember that was like one of the greatest days of my life, seeing how proud my father was, seeing how happy everyone was, and it's that euphoria. It's like you finish school, you're done with it, and you come a long ways. And yeah, I wish he would have been able to enjoy that as well.
As I say, bro, she'll be very proud of you now. What do you have coming up?
Coming up,
Going back home?
I'm going back home to visit the fam, spend time with them. It will actually be the first holidays together in a very long time, probably almost 10 years altogether. But after that, when I come back, we're gonna come out guns blazing. We have a special challenge February 29th. Ian Larios will be running around Bali, setting a world record, and all to build homes for families here in Bali. So he's putting his life, his body on the line to raise funds to provide homes for families here in Bali. He's a freak. He's a dog. He's we've been planning this for over a year, and so finally the time has come. And yeah, we hope that everyone can support in some sort of way, and yeah, be tuned. Content will be coming out soon, and yeah, it's gonna be a movie. It's gonna be a movie.
Brother, I can't wait to see your future, Rescue 2000's future. For anyone that is listening and they want to toe talk or they want to support, how can they find you guys? Where can they find you guys?
We are mainly on Instagram, TikTok, rescue_2000, and you can find us there. And you can see all of our works. We are very big on being transparent with our works, and so for every project, we deliver some sort of content for, and there you can see everything that we do. And if you like to be a part of our, beautiful mission, doors are open for anybody, and we're encouraged to be a part of it, to come out with us, and to be able to live the whole experience, because it's an experience that uh, is one of a kind. You get to witness a life-changing moment when a family gets their new home. Like you get to witness a turning point in their lives, and so being able to build bonds with those families, with the people, um, have a relationship with that certain family that you help, is something special. And I think that's what's made our whole experience that special, is because you really are able to build relationships with these people, and they're always going to be there for you to visit, for you to come check it out, spend time with them. And so yeah, I encourage everybody out there, if you're watching this, if you want to support in some sort of way, um, just message us on Instagram, TikTok, and we'll get back to you for sure.
If there's any way that I or the Martin Show can support, bro, I'd love to, my bro.
My guy.
All right, team. That concludes another episode of The Martin Show. We will drop Elias's details below. Rescue 2000 will drop them below. Make sure you're subscribing to this channel, following _The Martin Show right here. And we're going to be back next week for another episode. Make sure you show some mana today. Mauri ora, kia ora. Thank you.